I had this elaborate vacation planned for my girlfriend, and I was going to propose to her. But then she decided to invite two of her friends without even telling me. And that's not the end of the story. Oh no. She proceeds for the entire trip to ignore me and only spend time with her friends. Well, I have news for her. I'm leaving this stupid trip. My girlfriend Sarah and I, male 28, have been dating for 5 years, and I wanted to go on a vacation with her to celebrate. I planned the trip for several months. Of course, I shared my plans with her, and decided on skiing, snowboarding, other winter activities in Colorado. The activities seemed absolutely perfect, and I was looking forward to this for months because, well, I wanted to propose to her at the end of the trip. 5 days before the trip, Sarah dropped the ball on me that she's invited two of her friends to meet her there. Well, I was upset because I wanted to spend one-on-one time with her for our anniversary. I feel like it was plain and clear that this was a trip for just us. Even though I've expressed my concerns, Sarah insisted that her friends already made plans to come and they're not going to back out. I decided to accept this because, well, there's no way for me to force her friends to not come. I wish I fought more on this, though. I figured we could make some changes to our plans and I'd still be able to propose to her privately. Sarah essentially blew me off for her friends and we didn't get any private time. After 3 days of being in second place, I just decided to leave the trip and head home. I told Sarah why I was leaving and she was upset. She told her friends about my decision and I was ganged up on. They said we were all having a great time, and she thinks I'm being a jerk for making her pick between her friends and me, even though her friends weren't invited in the first place. I never had personal issues with her friends prior to this trip. I never made Sarah pick between me or her friends because everyone needs friends outside of a relationship. So, I'm at home now and thinking about everything. I have a day to myself before Sarah comes back home, so at least I get to relax a bit. Sarah and her friends think that I'm overreacting and think that I've ruined the trip. I think Sarah was disrespectful and rude to me by ruining the purpose of the trip and having her friends gang up on me. Am I the a-hole for leaving a vacation I planned for my girlfriend after her friends tagged along? Edit. This was a planned anniversary/romantic trip. I was clear that we were planning for just us two. We've been on the anniversary trips together without her friends there. We did discuss marriage beforehand, so it's not like a proposal would have been completely out of the blue. Minor update. My friends are here at the house and they've been running potential interference just in case her friends try to bombard and harass me. They've been great and I'm so glad to have them. Minor update number 2. None of Sarah's friends came to the house or harassed me last night, which is good. Sarah hasn't come home yet. I figured out what I want to say and I've written it down. What's up everybody, Mr. Reddito here. So there's an update for this story, but I do want to hop into some comments before we jump into this. So it seems the majority of people are all saying not the a-hole. But let's read a couple of them to see exactly what they're saying. Comment number 1 says this. Not the a-hole, you sure you still want to propose? Comment 2 says, yeah, even if it wasn't a proposal trip, it's so disrespectful of Sarah to basically pull the rug out from under him and get her friends to gang up. To do that to someone you've dated for 5 years? Ugh, jeez. Comment 3 says, I would sit her down and go through the plans you've included in the proposal. Watch the Pikachu face, and then tell her you need time apart to evaluate the relationship. And final comment says, I just can't understand why she would think that it was appropriate to invite her friends to a romantic trip, first and foremost, and secondly, why she did not run it past OP before doing so. What a selfish person, inconsiderate, rude, and ungrateful act. Then, once she forced him to accept it, she leaves him out of things in favor of her friends, who then all gang up and gaslight him into accusing him of ruining the holiday. How dare they? I'm glad that he has friends with him for the support to deal with these rude, selfish, ungrateful, gaslighting girls. then maybe it's best to put the engagement on hold for now and review the relationship in peace away from her. So, you can get a better perspective on the whole situation. Alright guys, so those are the main comments, so let's go ahead and jump into the update. If you do want to leave a comment down below before the update, you can go ahead and leave one now, but here's your update. Hey guys, I decided that I am going to end the relationship. I packed my important belongings, ex-passport, ex-clothes, etc., and arranged with my best friend to crash at his apartment until I can find one of my own. Usually, when small issues happen in a relationship, it ties into a bigger issue of the relationship, and the main reason why I've decided to break up is because I've realized that her friends will always be closer to her than me. Sarah has favored her friends over me and blown off some of her plans for her friends way more times than once. I was lying to myself for years because I didn't want to face reality. I'd hoped that she would change, but this trip really opened my eyes that I'll always just be in third place to her. I expressed my feelings multiple times, and just Sarah, she would promise me she would change, and she never did. Sarah came home late yesterday. I said I have a lot to get off my chest, and I want to get through my notes before she talks or tries to interrupt me. The first question I asked Sarah was how she thought the trip went. She said we all had fun and it was memorable. I shouldn't have to feel like the third wheel in my own relationship, especially on a trip that I planned. My next question. Why did you invite your friends in the first place? You knew this was an anniversary trip for us. She talked about the trip with her friends since the beginning, and they'd never been to Colorado. She thought it'd be a good idea to allow them just to come so they can have fun too. I followed up with my lack of knowledge of her friends coming along until days before. Well, it's one thing if they come and did their own activities, but it's another thing that every activity becomes a group activity. I signed up for a monogamous relationship, not a poly one. My last question. Did you know that I was going to propose to you? Sarah said she did not know at all. The thought never even occurred to Sarah that I was going to ask. She claimed that she would not have invited her friends to come along if she knew, but I responded it would have ruined the surprise if I told you. Well, long story kinda short, Sarah begged me to stay with her and believes that we can work everything out. She didn't want me to throw away 5 years after this one bad trip. I listened to her promises to change for years regarding her friends, but nothing ever happened. So, I ultimately left Sarah with this. It's clear that there is not enough room in your heart for your boyfriend and your friends. As much as I love you, Sarah, I can't stay in a relationship where I'm not respected enough. So, I left Sarah in the house by herself and I drove off to my friend's place. I'll figure out how to get my name off the lease and I'll plan to get the rest of my belongings. As for the ring, well, I'll return that bad boy this weekend. Alright, so I just want to know from you guys, do you think OP made the right decision? Let's read a couple comments. Comment 1, which got a lot of attention, says this. Aside from the obvious issues of her behavior, the thing that throws me the biggest loop is that she did not immediately follow you home. If my partner had become upset enough that they left our anniversary vacation early, I would have been one step behind them to get home and unduck whatever mess have been created. Even if I thought that they were being unreasonable, dramatic about the whole thing, by staying, she basically said this: your emotions and perspective are not my priority and never will be. So let me know your thoughts on that, guys. This story was a pretty wild one. I just want to hear from you what you would have done differently, or would you have done the same thing as OP? Our final story of the day is titled this. I'm 34 male, my stepdaughter is 19 and female. We're very close, but that seems to be a problem for her new boyfriend who doesn't like how close we are. My stepdaughter and I are very close, and her boyfriend doesn't like it. Alright, so let's get the obvious out the way. Yes, she calls me Dad. I've been in her life since she's 11. Yes, the age difference is weird since I'm 34 and she's 19. My wife's 40 and she has a kid. Sue me. Lastly, I'm in no way attracted to my daughter. She's beautiful, but that's my kid. This is not a fetish post. Now we can begin. My daughter and I are very close. She's never had a decent male figure in her life at the time I've met her, and I knew that if I wanted to pursue a relationship with my now wife, that I should do everything I could to fill the role. So I did. I helped with her homework, I played games with her, watched shows or YouTubers that she's into, read her favorite books, etc., because I wanted to build a solid relationship with her. Turns out, if you treat things like they're important, sometimes they go well. She and I spend a lot of time together, and our family doesn't really have a big touch barrier, so hugs, cheek kisses, sometimes she'll use me as a pillow, etc. All of this is very common. And she does the same with my wife. I love you is said probably 50 times a day in my house. We're affectionate, and the picture that I'm trying to paint here. Very recently, she started dating. Her boyfriend doesn't appreciate that we're comfortable with expressing our affection towards each other, even going as far to ask me to tone it down when he's around. In private, my daughter doesn't know this yet. I want to respect my daughter's new relationship because this is new and exciting thing for her, and I'm genuinely happy for her. But I also don't want to lose the connection I've spent so long building. And I don't think I should be made to pretend it's less important for me just because she's dating someone that happens to be a little insecure. I can understand where the guy's coming from, I guess, but I don't think he really has a right to just interject here. The dilemma is this. Should I tone it down as requested, or should I continue on as normal? Or should I tell my daughter about the request and let her handle it however she sees fit? Honestly, not sure what the right move is. Update number 1. I've had quite a few people ask for an update on the post despite it getting slightly derailed, so here it is. I spoke with my daughter the next evening after she came home from work. Her boyfriend was at the house at the time. He was over for dinner and had picked her up. I pulled her aside for a couple of minutes and let her know what happened. She was surprised because she's already had this talk with her boyfriend. She said she'd handle it and left. A little while later, I called them in for dinner, and after she finished eating, she confronted him. I'm paraphrasing because she told a story, but this is basically what she said. So, my dad told me what you said, and I wanted to wait until after dinner to bring it up. I didn't have a good childhood. My bio father treated my mom horribly, and after she left him, he never contacted me again. Her next big relationship was worse. It seemed fine on the outside, but there was a lot of emotional abuse and controlling behavior I was caught up into. Then this guy comes around. I was obviously skeptical at first. He looked like trouble to me. He was making my mom happy, but I was just an icy cold jerk to him because bad men were all I'd ever known. He asked me questions for over a year trying to get to know me, and I shut him out. One day, when I was reading, he asked what book it was. I didn't even answer him. I just lifted it up so he could see the cover. It was Island of Shipwrecks in the Unwanted series, and he said, "That looks pretty cool. What's it about?" And for the millionth time, I didn't answer. Well, maybe 2 weeks later, he asked me if I finished the book, and I said, "Yeah, why?" And he said, "Well, I read the other 5. I thought you might let me borrow it so I can catch up and we can talk about it." I thought he was lying through his teeth, so I asked him questions about plot points and characters. Not a single answer was wrong. I went to my room and got the book for him. It's kind of a dumb story, but you have to understand something. My dad's the first man who was ever nice to me, and I gave him plenty of reasons not to be. He was patient and thoughtful and never pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I will always be grateful for that. Bottom line, I love my father, and the only people who have a say in our relationship is us. If you feel threatened because we're close, that's not going away, ever. I like you. I have fun with you. But if you think I'll change my relationship with my dad for you, then you've made a mistake. If you're too insecure to handle the fact that I'm close to my dad, this isn't going to work out. If you can handle it, I would love to have you around. Otherwise... Well, then he kind of interrupted her and said, "It's not just because you're close. I get that he's been good to you and your mom, and that's great, but have you seen the guy?" referring to OP describing himself as an 8 or 9 out of 10 in the attractiveness scale. Yes, what about it? I don't know, it just makes it really weird for me. I don't know how to explain it other than that. You're way closer to your dad than anyone I've ever met, and it's a little creepy when you take into account he looks like he could be, what are you doing, stepdaughter guy? Look, there's apparently 2 people at this table. For context, it was 2 of them, my wife and myself at the table, who thinks my dad is duckable, and it's really weird that you're one of them. Choosing time is over, the door's that way, don't call or text me ever again. So that's pretty much how it went down. After he left, she cried for a few hours in her room, and when she finally came out, it was around midnight. She sat next to me on the couch. I asked her if she's worried this would be a constant problem, and if she wasn't comfortable with this, how things are, I can understand and respect it. She hugged me very tightly and just replied, "Don't be dumb." So, I guess everything's alright. I also thought it was kind of funny, disrespectful but funny, that she had this big story planned out. I got some rom-com vibes from it personally, but it was her boyfriend's first, so she has no experience having big talks. And the guy just completely disregarded it. Obviously, empathy and understanding are not his strong point. I feel bad for my daughter because it was her first relationship, but I definitely think she dodged a bullet. I'm just going to be real with you guys about this one. The comment section was not having it. They think that there's more to this story than OP's saying. Heck, they even think if OP doesn't really have a thing for the stepdaughter definitely has an emotional connection beyond fatherly with him. But I want to know your thoughts on this. This is just a comment section, and you did have people that are saying, "Ooh, that's disgusting, that's not what's happening," but at least 80% of the comments think there's more to the story. Guys, let me know your honest thoughts about this. Drop your opinions down below. The biggest factor that the comments could not overcome was the fact that the 19-year-old stepdaughter was openly sitting in his lap. Not leaned up against him, no. Sitting in his lap watching movies. So that's where the comment section had a big issue. Let me know your thoughts about this story though. If you don't agree with what the comments were saying, totally cool. Drop your own comment down below and let's all talk about it. That's all the stories for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.